another edition of Infield Fly as we are set for the, well, we're not set. We're into the LCS now. The ALCS is underway. The NLCS getting underway tonight. We've passed the division series. We'll tell you how we got here. We'll discuss the series. And it's a weird time for baseball.
It is.
It's a weird time. I'm Rob Fisher. That's Lang Whitaker. Keith Murphy is here as well. All of our teams are done. I don't even know why we're doing the show.
a lot of protesting from fans. I got to get into that because one of your boys laying on the team, he kind of nipped it in the bud, and I respected that. But we'll get into that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a lot to get into, but yeah, it's the only team of ours that was left was Lang Whitaker's Atlanta Braves, and now they are out, and that was disappointing.
Man, was it?
The offense just kind of fizzled.
Everything for the pitching, the whole thing just kind of went, after a season with the best offense in baseball, and then all of a sudden it's just not there when you need it to be. It sucks.
Yeah. And we'll get into the Braves losing that series to Philadelphia. But the top story this week is the question that we addressed even last week. Whether or not is the playoff rust factor real? Teams, obviously, the best 5 teams in Major League Baseball, the 5 best teams in baseball went 1-13 in the postseason. 1-13, and they're all out. So what do we do about it? Is it? I read a story that went back. There have been 48 series. And the team that had the rest has lost 28 of the 48.
Okay.
So it's a little skewed towards the teams that were playing.
Yeah.
Not much to say, oh, it's a disaster, but but it's still there. Lang, is it a real factor? Did you feel that with the Braves?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Were the Braves sharp in the postseason? No. Was it because they had a week off? I don't know. I don't know if you can say that's why. If the Braves were pitching was better, they're in these games a little more. Or if Snitker manages better, they give themselves a better chance to win these games. But I feel like just saying oh, well, it was just because we had too much time off to me, that feels like an excuse.
Right. I mean, going into next season, are you going to be sitting there? No. Don't win the division. Don't win the division.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, but when I brought this up before. Like in the '90s, when the Braves would, won the division 15 years in a row, they would clinch and then go into shutdown mode for the last week and a half of the season, and even then you didn't have the time off. But it felt like they weren't sharp when the postseason would start because the guys hadn't played regularly heading into it. So I don't know, man. I that's an easy line to draw for me to say too much time off, the team isn't sharp. I just think that's probably not the right answer, or at least not the entirely correct answer.
I think Spencer Strider he hit it on the nail when you said the people trying to use the playoff format to make an excuse for the results they don't like are not confronting the real issue. You're in control of your focus, your competitiveness, your energy. If having 5 days means that you can't make the adjustments, you have nobody to blame but yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the best response that I've heard. Somebody on a losing team saying that, which takes a lot of, you got to look at look at yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and see what happened. Now, as a hardcore Cubs fan, I would be lying to say if we were in the same position as the Braves, that I might have, 14, 15-year-old me would have felt differently. I would have said, yeah, seriously, I would have been like, we got too much time off. We should have bang zoom. We should be out on the field as soon as we win our division. But when you get older and you just see, players are used to their whole little weird, things that they have to do before games. They're used to consistency, a formula, but everybody's playing the same game, man. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, you have these 100-win teams that are all bounced. Most of them swept, except for the Braves, who won one game. Barely. Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding. And it seems like it's at least being brought up more. Mm-hmm. Now, let's say that the rust factor is real. What do you do about it? How do you try to fix it?
To me, that's the real issue here, is there's not like an answer for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the answer would be you don't have time off, right? But if you're gonna have the wild card, you have to have the time off. There's no way to have a wild card and not have those teams play. So I don't know. Maybe you put everyone on a bus and have a road trip, and you go to your minor league team stadium and play a series there or something. Like, I don't know. Part of it they were saying was like when the Braves played those, the Braves did try to do that this year. They tried to play like a simulated series. They did an inter squad scrimmage with fans there, and they tried to like make it a competitive atmosphere so like it would kind of carry over. But somebody was saying like, nobody pitched inside the whole time because they didn't want to hurt anyone.
Right.
And then the Braves couldn't hit anything inside. They were swinging at all these terrible pitches against the Phillies. So maybe that's part of it, but I don't. Unless you get rid of the wild card, I think there's no real solve for this, and I don't think MLB has any interest in getting rid of the wild card.
Now, how many games do you play in the wild card again?
3.
Best of 3, but all those series were 2-0, and then they had like another 2 days off after that.
The only thing that I would suggest for the fans that are losing their minds right now, because they're out there, I know they are listening to the show, is just have 1 game wild cards. Like, if you win the 1 game, you're in. Yeah. Take out the 3 games, and then from there, the team that wins the wild card instantly, maybe 2 days later, a day later, has to play the team that won the division. That's the only way that I can see this happening.
Yeah, I think that the only problem with that, Murph, is that in sports, when we schedule things and we have advancement, I don't think we ever go backwards. So the wild card going from 1 game to a best of 3, I don't see it going
back
backwards.
To 1 game.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea of having 3 games and doing it in 1 city so you can try and get it over with as soon as possible.
You're talking about for the wild card?
Yeah. I don't like that you have set start dates for division series and for the LCS, where even if things end early, you still have those off days. You could scoot things up, try to do that. Now, logistics and media and getting people into the stadium and stadium availability, all of those things come into play when you're talking about that. So that could be a problem. I saw one theory this week that I thought was interesting of working, but again, I don't think you ever go backwards as far as eliminating games, but instead of the best of 3, doing a best of 2, where the wild card team, the lower seeded team, would have to win. You get 1 game, and if you lose, you're out. If you win, well, then there's a 2nd game. So that's the lower seeded team would get a shot, but you'd have to win 2. Now you could even do it to where you play the 1 game, and if the other team, if the lower seeded team wins, you play again. You play a double header. Get them both over in the same day.
I heard one where you play a double header in one day, and if you tie that double header, then you play another game. Right? If you beat a team twice in the double header, that's it. You're on to the next round.
The one thing with that is your bullpen, right? Like if you have a lights out closer who saved 40 games for you, he's probably not going to pitch both games in the double header.
No, he's not.
I mean? Like, so you're gonna have to figure out a way to get through a double header with, each game you'd have to use like half your bullpen or something like that. But whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the unfortunate part. I think there are some scenarios out there, but I think all of them involve lessening what you've already implemented. And how often do we see sports go backwards as far as, you have games and you have playoff money, you have ticket money, you have all those things. You're excited about those things that you actually go backwards and take some away. That's usually not going to be the case. So I don't know. I don't know if they said that Rob Manfred even said this week that this is the first year of it. And we'll examine it after the season and see what we want to do. But yeah, it's to me, the reality of it all is this is just baseball. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's baseball. And when you have the best teams of the league that are in it, each team has the ability to win a series, a quick 3-game series, and you can lose, and you can have better pitching for a game, you can have better hitting for a game, you can be the hot team, and all those things can factor in to being eliminated. So 100 wins will get you the division title, but 100 wins doesn't get you anything in the postseason. And once you get to the postseason, it's up for grabs.
And I'd also just say the one thing we know about Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball is they're not afraid to take bold swings, right? And do things that might not sound popular. So like maybe I actually believe him when he says like, we'll look at this and see if there's a way to make it better. I just don't know if there is a way to make it better.
I mean, your idea, Fish, about the lower seed, top seed, 2-game theory type of thing, that actually sounds interesting. Because
then you're playing 1 day as opposed to playing 3 days.
Right, and you are giving teams hope that if my team can somehow beat this team in 1 game and I'm the lower seed, I'll have a chance for the 2nd game. Like that, I could see that happening, and it would put more of an emphasis on the game too, to make it more.
It's sort of how the NBA play-in thing works.
Yes.
Except like if you're playing a doubleheader in 1 day, like your pitching staff's going to get screwy, if you say you win the doubleheader and then you have to win again and then you have to play another game, like, I don't know how it would work. Like, but you might not have your ace until like halfway into the NLCS or whatever, or DS. But that would be the one thing I'm sure teams would point out, but whatever.
Yeah, and although that would put the wild card teams at a disadvantage, but they should be at a disadvantage. Yeah. They're a wild card team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because right now it doesn't seem like they're at a disadvantage other than having to play on the road.
Yeah. And even then if you win one of those first 2 games, you go home and you have home field all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So, well, see, the thing is, if the higher seed lane wins, that's the end of the series. You might not even have to do the doubleheader thing. Yeah. Like let's say if you are the Dodgers and you end up winning that first game, that's it. That's the end of the series, right? Like that, you go to the next series because the lower seed could not beat you and they could not get the opportunity to play a 2nd game.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I don't know if a lot of fans would like it, but I just like the mystery and the spontaneity of it all.
Yeah, I don't know. But bottom line is the top 5 teams are all gone, and we got 4 teams left in the LCS. Philadelphia, Arizona, 2 wild card teams, and then we have Texas and Houston, a wild card team and a division winner. Here's how we got here. Philadelphia, they knocked off Atlanta. Philadelphia, a +145 underdog against the Braves. They win the series 3 games to 1, winning 3-0, winning 10-2, winning 3-1. Their only loss was a 5-4 loss, which the Braves got 2 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th. Riley, a 2-run homer in the 8th to win it. Harris, a great catch to end the game and a great double play to end that game. But Max Fried went just 4 innings. Strider went 7 innings in 8 strikeouts, 1 earned run, and a loss in game 1. Bryce Elder was rocked in game 3. Harper and Castellanos each go deep twice. Castellanos goes deep twice again in game 4 in the 3-1 loss. Strider again 5 2/3, gave up 3 runs. Strider 8-0 all time against the Phillies in the regular season, 0-2 in the postseason for Spencer Strider, as he has beat twice in the series. Atlanta has lost 10 of their last 11 elimination games.
Yeah.
boy, we go from everything's rosy in Atlanta and everything's wonderful and it's the most powerful offensive team that we've ever seen to suddenly, what the heck just happened to the Braves?
I know it was like dizzying. It was so fast. Like it was just all of a sudden like 3 days, 4 days, and it's over. You're like, oh, okay. Game one, the Braves tried that different lineup, which they lost. And then game two, they go back to the regular lineup and they come from behind and win. You're like, oh, okay. And it felt like all the momentum was going our way.
Right.
And then you go up to Philly and game three, Bryce Elder starts and like Snitker could not have managed that more poorly.
I got questions about his management that game.
It was brutal.
Taking people out early, leaving people in too late. I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, Snitker gives up. I'm sorry. Elder gave up that home run to Harper, and then there's no one in the bullpen ready.
Nobody.
There's nothing. Like you're like, what? Like he's just gonna ride with this guy? Like no way. And I get it. Like Elder was an all-star this year. He was really good for a lot of the year, but the last 2 months he has not been very good. And you kind of, I would think it's the playoffs, right? Like it's ride or die. Like if I've given up a double in the third inning, I'm taking the guy out. Like you got to manage every possession like it's the last. I mean, every at bat like it's the last at bat of the game. So that was disappointing. And then in game four, like Strider was good. He hung a couple sliders that those guys hit out, but Strider was really good. And the Braves had some opportunities in there, but just couldn't come through when they needed to. I mean, Acuna almost hit that ball off the wall with the bases loaded.
Yep.
In the whatever that was, the 8th inning or something. I thought he got it, but he just missed it. But then again, Snitker, then you end up like, thanks to at one point he pinch hit for Michael Harris to go lefty righty earlier in the 6th or 7th inning, and I was texting with some friends and I was like, I don't like burning Michael Harris defensively. The guy, Michael Harris, was like the best offense the Braves had. He started 2 double plays as a center fielder. Like you're like, he's the one guy who can like get us momentum in this thing. Yeah. He pulled Harris and then he pinch hit Rosario against the lefty because Rosario was the only guy left on the bench. And then at the last at bat of the season, basically you need a hit, and he puts in Vaughn Grissom, who hasn't hit all series and done anything.
The Vaughn Grissom and Michael Harris pulling Michael Harris was just weird to me.
Yeah. So I don't know. There was a lot of questionable stuff, and they're not gonna fire Snitker. I mean, he won the World Series 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
But he is very, very old school and seat of the pants type of guy. And it doesn't seem very like forward thinking and analytical thinking. And I don't like the analytical guys, the guys who are like by the numbers and all that stuff, but you feel like maybe you could I was thinking like maybe they just hire an assistant coach who's a little more that way, who can, throw some things in there every now and then that would help out. But it was disappointing. It was really disappointing the way it ended.
Yeah, and Orlando Arcia apparently overheard in the locker room, and Bryce Harper took exception, and Bryce Harper stared him down a couple of times, and we got a big controversy.
Yeah, that was the big controversy for some reason. Like, look, don't say something with media around if you don't want somebody to report it. I get it. Somebody pointed out it was like the when McGuire had the androstenedione in his locker, and a media member saw it and reported it. Like, like if you don't want somebody to say something, don't do it. That was like the controversy. And then there's also been this smaller controversy from some of the Braves. One of the Braves writers, Acuna didn't speak to the media after the last game, and there's this whole like, oh, this lack of responsibility here, and there's Strider spoke to the media and everyone else did, but Acuna walked out and didn't speak to the media after the last game. So there's been like some of that going around, and like this sort of fake anger about it, but like what's he gonna do? Talk to the media and be like, hey, we tried our best, we just didn't perform. Both teams played hard. Like was that make it better if he just did that? I almost feel like he says more by not saying anything and walking out, because he hasn't done an interview with the media without a translator all year, and the translator is one of the Braves PR guys anyway, so like he's not going to say anything too crazy. So
yeah,
I don't know. I wasn't that upset about that.
No.
I don't like Bryce Harper though.
Of course you don't.
Nah.
No, it's a shocker.
He's great.
That's so shocking.
He's so good. And it's so frustrating. Like, what do you do? Like, like staring guys down and all that. Like, I mean, it's fun when the Braves players do it. It's not fun when the Phillies do it.
I thought his elbow was wrecked that play.
Yeah, when he like tried to elbow Matt Olson on that play.
Yeah, I just I thought he was done after that.
He looked like he was hurt bad.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I told you last week, I thought the problem for the Braves in this series was that while I believe the Braves were the most exciting team to watch in baseball, I thought the Phillies were gaining on them.
Yeah.
That they had been playing really well, and their offense has been explosive, and they're getting a lot up and down their lineup, and they're getting great pitching right now. I mean, Wheeler and Nola, who were really good in the regular season, but they weren't dominant. And right now they're dominating. So everything's just kind of coming together for the Philadelphia Phillies, and here they are in the NLCS for the second year in a row, where they will take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks were a plus 175 underdog against the Dodgers, and they sweep them in 3, 11-2, 4-2, 4-2. Kershaw got rocked in game 1. Arizona hit 4 homers. Zach Gallen was good in game 2. Bobby Miller got rocked for Los Angeles, going just an inning and 2/3 in that start. And then in game 3, 4 homers off of Lance Lynn. Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman go a combined 1 of 21 in the series. And I think Magic Johnson, who is spectacular on Twitter, put it best when he tweeted out, "We're all disappointed that our Dodgers didn't hit or pitch well. That's why we lost the series to the Diamondbacks."
Straight no chaser.
Yeah, that's true.
You've said it all.
First NLCS for Arizona since 2007. I thought the impressive thing for Arizona was they jumped out to a lead in every game.
Yes. Yeah, you took the words right. They took the Dodgers' heart that first game.
Yeah.
It was downhill after that. Like if you saw the way, because like I said, I was making a joke. I was like, man, is that a misprint? Is that a mistake? Like it's like the 3rd, 4th inning, and these guys are like just piling it on, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. They took their best pitcher, brought him into the woodshed, and that was it. That was it.
Yeah, and the Dodgers pitching after that just. I mean, Kershaw was their ace, clearly, and after that, Bobby Miller got rocked a little bit, and then Lance Lynn giving up the 4 home runs. Arizona they're a good baseball team. You know, Lang, you talked about it last week, just how
scrappy.
They're scrappy, and they just play the game well. They play really good defense. They run the bases really well. I mean, it was the long ball that really helped them in games 1 and 3. But I mean, they got good pitching. They're just a really good team, and
they're sort of like the Phillies. Like they're scrappy. They get hits when they need it. They run the bases really well. Like I think they're probably better defensively than the Phillies are, but I think that's going to be a fun matchup between those two teams.
They kind of remind me of that Houston Astros team that won the championship. They do long at bats. Like it's like the pitcher is tiring. Like you're throwing everything at them. They just keep hitting fouls, fouling balls, and then they get you with a home run. It's just like they just take your heart, man.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And now they set up the series with the Phillies. Phillies are an overwhelming favorite, minus 185. Diamondbacks at plus 155. Game 1, so very important. You know, even in a 7-game series, game 1, just to get a little momentum and see how the series can shift. And Arizona going with their ace. Zach Gallen will be on the hill. He's 2-0 this postseason with an ERA of 3.18. But Philadelphia going with the guy who's been their best pitcher, Zach Wheeler, 1-0 with a 2.08 ERA and 2 starts. He's got 18 strikeouts in 13 innings pitched. So he's been spectacular for Philadelphia in this postseason. Gallen's been very good, but this is Arizona's ace, and this is Arizona's shot to get a win and get up in the series. because if they can't get up in the series with Zach Gallen, they'll be trying to come from behind from the get-go. So I think very important for Arizona, and great for Philadelphia. Philadelphia, their stadium has become a tough place to play.
Yep.
It's electric during the postseason, and their starting pitching's been really good. So tough for me to pick Arizona, but Arizona's been in the same spot before, and I think throughout it's been said it's tough to pick Arizona, and here they are in the NLCS.
I wouldn't pick Arizona, but I'm rooting for them.
Yeah, I know you. Well, of course you are, but I still have Philly winning the series. But I know Madison Avenue right now. I know it's like kind of archaic to speak this way because we're such an open market now with streaming. It doesn't really matter, but they don't want no parts of no Arizona to be in the World Series. You can already see it. Like the hair is burning. The hair is on fire right now. Like
they're having meetings right now of trying to figure out, all right, who are we going to showcase for Arizona?
Right. Like who's what they really having is meetings about what umpires they want to put out there to sabotage them. Get Angel and Hernandez out.
By the way, thanks for bringing that up, Keith, because like after that Braves Phillies series, I'm ready for the robot umps. Bring them on.
You ready?
Home plate robot ump, please just bring them on.
It was some horrible calls. Right?
Oh my gosh, for both teams. Both teams got terrible calls.
But the pitching calls, left side, right side, all out, like that's not a strike.
Inconsistently too. Like some guys would get it, some guys wouldn't. You're like, okay.
Like if
check swings were terrible. Like there was a bunch.
If you're consistent with your strike zone, cool, right? Everybody has their own strike zone. Some people are like far out away, like a little couple of inches from the box. Okay, I got it, because you're calling that for everybody.
Yeah.
It was so sporadic, dude.
It was awful. I was ready. I felt like I was ready for Eric Gregg to come back from the dead and call that game. He couldn't have been worse than those guys were.
In the AL Division Series, Texas, they sweep Baltimore. Texas was a -105 underdog in that series, but they sweep Baltimore, winning the first two games in Baltimore 3-2, 11-8, and then they close it out with a 7-1 victory in Game 3. Game 1, they just played from ahead and held on behind the pitching of Andrew Haney and Dane Dunning. Josh Young, the rookie, hit a home run. Game 2, they rocked Grayson Rodriguez in just an inning and 2/3. He gave up 5 earned runs. Mitch Garver then hit a grand slam following that. And then in Game 3, Nathan Eovaldi was terrific, going 7 innings pitched, just 1 earned run. Dean Kramer was rocked for Baltimore, inning and 2/3, 6 earned runs. Seager and Garcia homered. Texas gets to their first ALCS since 2011, when they ended up going to the World Series and lost to the Cardinals in 2011, the David Freese series. Texas outscoring their opponents 32-12 here this postseason. Baltimore has now lost 8 straight games in the postseason. That felt like a series where Baltimore was just not ready for the moment.
Yeah, they look spooked out there. Plus, it just seemed like, I don't know, man. The pitching for Baltimore just seemed like they weren't ready. They weren't ready for that spot. Like more than the batters, because you get your little rhythms here and there, but the pitching just looked like we don't even know what's going on out here, man. We're trying to throw strikes and they just keep hitting.
It felt like the Braves Phillies series in a way. It was like the great team couldn't do anything and they couldn't get anybody out. You mentioned the way the Diamondbacks battle in those at bats. That's one thing the Phillies are good at doing too. And just Strider would get through an inning it would take him 25 pitches and they'd have a guy on base, and they make it hard for you to get through clean through an inning. And all these teams that are still alive have kind of started, they're all playing that way right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was pretty impressive and unfortunate for Baltimore, as they get eliminated in just 3 games and they are out. But Texas Rangers were one of the best teams in baseball all season long until the last 3 weeks, and took themselves out of first place, and then now they haven't lost a game this postseason, and they're getting great pitching. They're getting better pitching than their opponents right now. With Eovaldi was great. Jordan Montgomery's been fantastic. And right now they're just outpitching their opponents, and they sweep the Baltimore Orioles. Now they take on the Houston Astros in a battle of the American League West. Astros won in 4 games against Minnesota. Minnesota was cute. That was a cute little story. They won their playoff series, and then they took on Houston, and that was just too much for them.
Like a buzzsaw.
Yeah, it was. Pablo Lopez went another 7 scoreless innings and was great to even the series at 1, but then Sonny Gray got beat up, and then Houston wins and holds on in Game 4, 3-2. 7th straight ALCS for the Houston Astros. The only club with more consecutive league championship series appearances in Houston was Atlanta, who had 8 NLCS trips from 1991 to 1999. So Astros and the Rangers meeting in the ALCS. The Astros a -140 favorite, the Rangers at +120. And what happens? Well, the Rangers go out and win Game 1 2-0. Jordan Montgomery just outdueled Justin Verlander. Montgomery was unhittable in Game 1. Texas now 6-0 this postseason, 5-0 on the road. I was impressed by Jordan Montgomery last night. Yeah. Houston just never threatened in that game. Just never threatened. It was a boring game to watch because there was never traffic on the bases. Guys had to get out of jams. Nothing. Houston just couldn't put 2 hits together the whole night. Montgomery just had them off balance. They're hitting, slow rollers to third and slow rollers to short and slow rollers all over the field. And that's all Astros could muster in Game 1.
Yeah, that game was like watching paint dry, man. I turned the game off like in like the seventh inning. Like I was like, I can't watch it anymore because this dude is just clinical. Like he's not even doing anything, he's overpowering and no, it's just routine ground balls and your man is out. Like
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying I'm rooting for the Rangers. I would like to see them win a championship. That would be a cool story. I do not want to see Houston back in the World Series. I love Dusty, but
Fish, is it hard for you to watch Jordan Montgomery?
Oh
no. We hardly knew him.
Cardinal legend.
Jeez, man.
Well, it was. I mean, the Cardinals picked him up at the trade deadline last year, and he was terrific for them, and went into the postseason as their best pitcher. Yeah. And Jordan Montgomery, and the same thing has happened with Texas. He goes to Texas, and after having mediocre numbers for the Cardinals this year, he goes to Texas, and because of injuries, he's their ace going into the postseason. And boy, he's performing like it. I mean, what's last night was a clinic.
What's the change in him, Fish? What have you noticed from when he was on your team to now?
Well, it was the same thing with the Cardinals last year when he first came over. I mean, he looked like an ace and went into the postseason as the Cardinals' best pitcher and pitched really well. I don't know. Maybe he's just a big moment guy, or or maybe the more pitches he gets in a season, he just gets stronger. He's a smart pitcher. Doesn't have a lot of gas, so it's all about location. And his location has been terrific. Like I said, when they did make contact last night, it was never hard. I mean, everything was just soft rollers or soft pop-ups. Astros, the only thing they got going was in the 8th inning when Altuve got on to lead off the inning, and then Bregman hits the deep fly to left center, but then Altuve gets doubled off first base because he forgot to tag up on second. And the inning was over. But that was it. That was the only time they ever threatened. And Montgomery just, I don't know. It's just keeping guys off balance and finding his spots. And right now he's doing it really, really well. They were spectacular. As Texas wins Game 1, 2-0, winning on the road again, 5-0 on the road this postseason, 6-0 overall for the Texas Rangers. Game 2 will be today. For the Rangers and the Astros. Pitching for Game 2 will be Nathan Eovaldi, who's 2-0 this postseason with a 1.32 ERA against one of the best 500 pitchers in baseball, Framber Valdez, who this postseason, his ERA is over 10. So the Texans got to feel pretty good about themselves going into Game 2, even on the road, and try and take another one from Houston. Houston's a team that was under 500 at home this season, under 500 at home.
So they're
won their
definitely
division.
they're definitely beatable at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Hey, Grizz Nation, you Grizzlies fans, you can get back to the grind on opening night, Wednesday, October 25th at 7 p.m. as your Grizz play hosts the New Orleans Pelicans. Arrive early and enjoy all the opening night festivities, plus the first 10,000 fans in attendance will receive a Grizzlies Back to the Grind t-shirt. To purchase your tickets or for more information, open the official Grizzlies mobile app or call 901-888-HOOP today. All right. A couple of things about our teams that I wanted to get into. Number one, first, I want to mention this. Learn this week. The Orioles went through an entire season, didn't get swept in any series. All season long, never got swept. Then they got swept by Bruce Bochy and the Rangers in the postseason. Only one other team has ever done that, the 1998 Padres. They were managed by Bruce Bochy. How about that?
Wow. What you trying to say, Fish?
Just saying. Bruce Bochy. He is a postseason guy, is what he is. All right, Atlanta Braves. Lang, this is what I have written down for my Braves conversation. You won the World Series 2 years ago, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But is there any frustration?
Sure. I mean, you'd like to win when you have the best regular season of every team in baseball. But I also I'm like, look, we won a World Series 2 years ago. I'm very much on the practical side of things that like we're still in the honeymoon. It's all right. Like, you know, I wish we won it, but I just wish, like, I don't care that I mean, yeah, I do care, but I wish we hadn't just played so bad. Like, I wish the games had been like 6-5, 5-4, whatever.
Right, right.
We just like laid an egg on all sides of the ball, and it was just disappointing from that standpoint.
Yeah. I was in Atlanta on Thursday for game 4 and working the Grizzlies game. And after the Grizzlies game was over, went to a bar and it was packed. And we were watching game 4, and I guess it was in about the 7th or 8th inning, so there wasn't much time left. Yeah. But it just anxious, just waiting for something to happen. That's how I felt watching the Braves all season long.
Yeah.
Where you just kind of waited for it to happen, you know, especially when you get to the point where it's like, oh, Acuna's coming up. We're at the top of the lineup. Everything's good. He'll get on. But Ozzy will get on. This time it just felt like
it wasn't going to happen.
It was more hope. It was more hope than expectation. Yeah.
I was just hoping the Phillies would screw up because you just knew like the Braves didn't have it. Like they didn't have it that series. I don't know what it was, but like I just knew like they didn't have a shot.
You squandered some good pitching too, Lang.
Yeah.
Like there was some good pitching. Strider was dealing, dude.
Yeah,
like
Strider was great.
You gotta take advantage of that, man. He should have won both of those games.
Yeah, I know. Who are you telling?
I saw an article talking about the teams that were eliminated and what needs to be their off-season priority.
Yeah.
On the Braves, it said the focus should be on the pitching staff. Atlanta starters ranked 17th in ERA and 19th in WHIP during the regular season, with injuries playing a big role. Braves have a lot of intriguing young arms, but adding a top-tier starter to slide in alongside Spencer Strider and Max Fried should be the priority. However, it's uncertain if the ownership is willing to commit to the dollars that some of the starters will command.
Yeah.
Charlie Morton's a candidate to return, though the team is unlikely to exercise his $20 million club option.
Yeah, they like, especially with Cal Wright being out for the whole season now next year. You know, you got Fried, you got Strider, but then like Morton? I mean, Morton was fine during the season. He had times where he was terrible, times where he was good. The bullpen's going to be the other interesting thing. I would love it if they get a starter. I mean, maybe AJ Smith-Shawver or Schuster or one of those minor league guys can like make the leap and become another starter. They need one more like quality guy. Not even like I don't think they even need like a type A, you know, like a B- guy who can just eat you 200 innings. Right. But then the bullpen, they're going to have to figure out a lot with the bullpen. There's a lot of guys who are free agents coming up in that bullpen. And I think they're going to have to get creative and figure out ways to kind of shore that up.
I find it interesting when he says Braves might not be willing to commit to those dollars, because the Braves certainly have committed to just about everybody on their team.
Yeah.
Now they've committed to them in discounts.
Yeah. I was just about to say that. Don't say that they acting like they was breaking out the checkbook, man.
They've spent a lot of money, but it's all been like smaller amounts. But it's been a lot of smaller amounts, and now like they're almost at the the luxury tax threshold now because of that. So I mean, I don't know who the options are there as a pitcher you can bring in, like who are the big free agent guys, but
Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah, I would imagine like maybe they go after a, some kind of journeyman type guy who can give you a little bit of like, fight and like I mean, or even like a Ranger Suarez type guy. You know what I mean? Like
I heard they were looking at, and I hate this rumor, Marcus Stroman.
Yeah,
that's what I heard, and
but he wants money, right? Like, I mean, he's not going to take
Yeah, but he's not going to get as much money as he wanted because remember how he kind of like had a tailspin towards the second half of the season.
Yeah.
So,
and injury.
All
right, Murph, for the Cubs, the thing that I thought about you when I see these 4 teams that are left is, did it ever cross your mind of, man, if we would have just gotten in, we could be here?
I watched that. That's why I was like hate watching these games. I was straight hate watching because I felt that. I was like, man, these teams don't really impress me. Like we could have gone against, the Dodgers or whoever. Like I'm not. I wasn't scared of these guys. Like we could have been on the other end of scenario, Fish, where we snuck in and we got hot at the same time. Our pitching just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Beyond Steele, our pitching just wasn't there to do it. Everybody's talking about the offense. I think it's more about the pitching, and it's like a synergy thing. But yeah, man, I was not impressed with a lot of those like big hulking teams that was coming in and winning their divisions. I think we would have had a chance against them.
Like the Braves?
Maybe, but we played you guys great during the regular season. Like
last week.
Not the last week, but all the other games we played great. You caught us. You caught us in a vulnerable position that last week. Like,
do you blame Dansby Swanson for going into like a swoon toward the stretch of the season?
I think he kind of had, a little feeling himself a bit towards the end. I will admit that, but once again I think it's more about the pitching. It was more about still kind of coming down because he was in that race with your boy, and it looked like it was going to be, down to the letter. The next thing you know, he just fell apart. But yeah, I was really upset that we didn't get a chance to get in there because I think we could have at least got a couple of wins. I don't know if we would have went past the first round, but I think we could have got a couple of wins. That
Cubs also made a couple of moves. They part ways with game strategy coach Craig Driver and bullpen coach Chris Young. Are those the moves to take the Cubs over the top, Murph?
I don't know about that, but I know the I know the bullpen. We've had issues with our bullpen, so I saw that coming from a mile away.
I know a team that could use a game strategy coach.
Well, Craig Driver's available, Lang.
Yeah, he's in the van by the river. That's where he's at.
That's all I got on the Cubs. Cardinals news this week. Armed robbers.
Yeah, this
starts
crazy.
with that. Armed robbers broke into the Cardinals complex in the Dominican Republic on Friday. Statement from the Cardinals said no one was injured, but the burglars stole money, cell phones, jewelry, and baseball equipment. Tough times for this.
So you're gonna find a couple of the homies walking around with some gloves or something, like
some gloves. Some nice fitted caps.
Some paraphernalia, Cardinals paraphernalia. That's what we're saying.
Yeah. So rough times continue for the Cardinals, unfortunately.
Jeez, man.
All right, NLCS, Phillies, Diamondbacks. Who do we like? Well, I know who we're rooting for.
I think the Phillies are going to win, but I want the Diamondbacks to win.
I want the Phillies to win. I want to see a gigantuan World Series matchup. I don't want to see any of these Arizona teams, any weird teams getting in there, man. I'm gonna be a snob. I'm a baseball snob this season, dude.
Yeah, I think Philadelphia is going to win too. I just think they're riding a momentum streak right now and just playing really good baseball and getting good pitching and putting it all together at the perfect time. And riding that momentum, and I think they'll ride it into the World Series. So Murph, if you want the perfect matchup, but you don't want the Astros, so you're saying Phillies Rangers, that's the perfect matchup for the World Series.
That's the perfect because you still get the Texas market. Still get a big market. You still get a big market in Philly. You get a chance to see arguably the best offensive player in the game when he's not, injured. Bryce Harper. He could win his first, championship. That would be great for baseball, great for the story. I know you don't like that, Lang. I know you do not like that man, but I think it would be cool for baseball to see top-notch players win things. When you don't see the top guys win things, it just makes the sport look weird. In other sports, you see that. You see the top quarterbacks winning. You see the top basketball players winning. In baseball, sometimes you do not see the top guys winning. And I want to see, it would be cool to see Bryce Harper win the whole thing. That's what I want. I want Rangers and Phillies.
I want the Rangers mainly because I don't want the Astros as well.
Well, yeah,
just because I want new blood, and I think the Rangers are a team that would be good for can be good, but for baseball, they have some really good players. Adolis Garcia is fantastic. Seager is one of the best, in the running for MVP in the American League. Although Shohei will win that, but Seager is a guy who's a terrific player. Their pitch. It'll be interesting to see if Max Scherzer pitches. I mean, he's on the roster. What's
the last note on him, Fish? What are they saying? Because the last I heard that they shut him down at first.
I think he's like rehabbing and trying to.
Yeah, he's on the roster, hoping to come back. I don't know what he'd be able to give him, but
I would love it if he came in and just got ripped. That would be hilarious. If he came in and just got lit up.
Oh,
who do you want in that series, Lang?
I don't really care. Maybe the Rangers. I really don't have a rooting feeling either way for it. I think the Rangers are probably the hotter team right now, and I think they'll probably win. But I don't really care one way or the other.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good series. I think that one could go 7. So I think that one will go longer than the NLCS. So it should be a really good series. Montgomery better than Verlander in game 1, and looking forward to game 2 with Eovaldi and Valdez as well. All right, well, there you have it for this week's edition of Infield Fly. We got the LCS set. Next time we talk, we could be set for the World Series, or at least down to the final stretch of games in the LCS before the World Series gets underway. So we'll talk about that next week here on Infield Fly. We thank you for joining us, talking some baseball with you here as we do each and every week. For Lang Whitaker and Keith Murphy, I'm Rob Fisher. Thanks for joining us here on Infield Fly on Grind City Media.